There is a quiet conversation you have with yourself at the end of every day. You may not notice it, but it happens. A voice deep within asks you a simple question. Did you show up for me today? Most people try to answer it with noise, with distractions, with justifications. But tonight, in this silence, that voice will not be silenced, because it knows a secret. It knows that every promise you break to yourself is a piece of your future you are giving away, and it is tired of waiting. There is a conversation that takes place in the quiet hours of the night. It is not a conversation you have with another person. It is not spoken aloud, and it leaves no trace in the world. Yet it is the most important dialogue of your life. It is the conversation you have with yourself. In the silence, when the distractions have faded and the opinions of others no longer reach you, a single question rises from somewhere deep within. It is a simple question, asked softly, without judgment, but it carries the weight of everything. The question is this: why do I not do the things I say I want to do? You have felt it. We all have. That gap. The distance between who you are and who you know you could be. The promise made to yourself in the quiet of the evening that is broken by the noise of the morning. The vision of a better life, a life of purpose, of health, of meaning, that remains a ghost, always visible but never quite touchable. Not because you lack talent, not because you lack intelligence, not because the world is against you, but because of something else, something quieter, something that most people spend their entire lives never truly understanding. Imagine for a moment that you are two people. This is not a metaphor for illness or confusion. It is a simple truth of the human condition recognized by wise minds for thousands of years. There is the you who dreams, the you who in those rare moments of clarity sees a vision of a life fully lived. This version of you is wise. This version understands what is truly valuable: peace, integrity, growth, contribution. This version wants to write the book, start the venture, have the difficult conversation, wake before the sun, and walk the path of becoming. This is the you that exists when the noise subsides. And then there is the other, you. This one is comfortable. This one seeks the easy path, the familiar numbness, the warm embrace of the couch, the endless scroll, the distraction that feels like rest but is actually a slow, quiet suffocation. This version is not evil. It is not your enemy in the way a villain is an enemy. It is simply afraid. It is the part of you terrified of discomfort, terrified of failure, and most of all, terrified of the sheer weight of your own potential. It does not wish you harm. It wishes you safe, and it mistakes safety for stagnation. Most people live their entire lives unaware that this internal war is even happening. They feel the symptoms, the frustration, the restlessness, the nagging sense that something is wrong, but they look outward for the cause. They blame the job, they blame the economy, they blame the partner, the parents, the politicians, the lack of time. They point fingers at the world, never realizing that the battlefield is internal, and the war is fought every single day in the smallest of moments. The alarm clock rings. Do you rise or do you sink back into sleep? That is a battle. The choice is before you. Do you begin the work that matters, or do you check the notifications that do not? That is a battle. Do you speak the truth in your heart, or do you remain silent to keep the peace? That is a battle. These are not small things. They are the building blocks of character. They are the threads from which a life is woven. And here is the secret that Napoleon Hill uncovered in his years of studying those who achieved greatly. Every time you give in to the comfortable self, you are not just losing a small battle. You are sending a message. You are telling the deepest part of your being that you are not to be trusted. Think about that. Trust. It is the foundation of every great relationship. You trust a friend because they have proven, over time, that they will be there. They keep their word. They shoe up. But what of the relationship you have with yourself? When you make a promise at night, tomorrow, I will begin, and you break it by morning, what have you done? You have chipped away at the foundation of your own self-trust. You have taught yourself that your word means nothing. The person who lacks self-discipline is not lazy. They are not weak. They are someone who has, through years of small betrayals, trained their own mind to disbelieve their own promises. And when you cannot trust yourself, the world becomes a frightening place, because you feel, deep down, that you have no solid ground beneath your feet. You are a ship without an anchor, at the mercy of every wind, every wave, every fleeting impulse. This is the hidden problem that most ignore. They look at discipline as a cage. They see it as a restriction on their freedom. But the opposite is true. A life without self-discipline is a life of chaos. It is a life where you are a slave to the whim of the moment. It is a life of constant reaction, never creation. The first step toward wisdom is simply to see this war for what it is, to stop blaming the world, to turn your gaze inward, to recognize that the greatest battle you will ever fight is not against another person, but against the comfortable ghost of who you used to be. And in that recognition, something shifts. You are no longer just a soldier in the war. You become the general. You begin to see the battlefield clearly. And for the first time, you have a chance to win. Now, let us look at this trap more closely. Because it is not simply a personal failing, it is not just a weakness in your own character that you must overcome through sheer force of will. To see it that way is to miss the full picture. This trap is a condition. It is the air we breathe. It is the water we swim in. And we have been swimming in it for so long, we have forgotten that water even exists. We live in a world that has built an entire economy on your lack of self-discipline. This is not a conspiracy. It is not a dark plot by shadowy figures. It is simply the natural result of a system designed to capture and hold human attention. The notifications on your phone are not engineered to help you live a better life. They are engineered to interrupt you. They are designed to create a tiny spike of anxiety or curiosity that pulls you away from whatever you are doing and into the waiting arms of an algorithm. Every vibration, every ping, every glowing icon is a small hook designed to catch you and keep you. The food on your shelf is not there to nourish you. Much of it is engineered in laboratories, tested and refined to hit what the industry calls the bliss point. It is a combination of sugar, salt, and fat carefully calculated to override your body's natural signals of fullness. It is designed to make you want more, even when you do not need more, even when you know you should not have more. The entertainment that fills every moment of silence is not there to enrich your mind or feed your soul. It is there to fill the space. It is there to ensure that you never ever have to sit alone with your own thoughts. Because in that silence, you might begin to think. You might begin to question. You might begin to see the gap between the life you are living and the life you could be living. And that gap is uncomfortable. So the world offers you 1,000 ways to avoid it. The world wants you average. It needs you average. An average person is a predictable person. An average person is a consumer. They wake up. They go to a job that may or may not fulfill them. They earn a paycheck and they spend it on things they do not need to impress people they do not know. They dream, but they never build. They complain, but they never act. They are the perfect citizen of a society built on consumption because they are always hungry for the next thing that will fill the void they feel inside. And the primary tool used to keep you average is a systematic erosion of your ability to delay gratification. This is the mental trap. It is the deeply ingrained belief that you should feel good now, that discomfort is a sign that something has gone wrong, that if something is hard, you should stop and find an easier way, that if you want something, you should have it immediately. Think about how this plays out in 1,000 small ways every single day. You want to know something, so you do not read a book or think deeply about it. You pull out your phone and get a 10-second answer. You feel a moment of boredom, a tiny crack of silence in your day, and you immediately fill it with a scroll, a video, a game. You feel a craving, and within minutes, food is delivered to your door. You want to be entertained, and an endless river of content is available at your fingertips, 24 hours a day. We have trained ourselves collectively to expect immediate satisfaction, and in doing so, we have lost the muscle of patience. We have lost the ability to endure the discomfort of wanting something and waiting for it. We have lost the understanding that the most valuable things in life cannot be obtained quickly. They require time. They require effort. They require the willingness to be uncomfortable for a very long time before the reward appears. Napoleon Hill, in his years of studying the most successful minds of his generation, did not find that they were the smartest. He did not find that they were the luckiest. He did not find that they had connections or advantages that others lacked. What he found was that they possessed a single quality that set them apart from the masses. They had the ability to make a decision and to stand by it. They had the ability to postpone pleasure and to endure difficulty for the sake of a future goal. They had, in his words, a definiteness of purpose and the persistence to see it through, no matter how long it took. This is the opposite of average thinking. The average mind seeks the path of least resistance. The disciplined mind understands that resistance is the path. The average mind wants the reward without the work. The disciplined mind understands that the work is the reward, because the work is where you build yourself. The average mind wants the 90-foot tree. The disciplined mind is willing to spend years in the dark, building the root system. This is the trap. It is the belief that results should be immediate, and when they are not, the average person gives up. They move on to the next shiny object, the next promise of a quick fix, the next guru with a 3-step plan to get rich without effort. They are forever planting seeds, watering them for a week, and then digging them up to see if they are growing. They check the roots, disturb the soil, and then wonder why nothing grows. And they spend their entire lives walking through a garden of dead plants, wondering why everyone else seems to have a green thumb. To escape this trap, you must change your relationship with time. You must stop measuring your life in days and start thinking in years, in decades, in a lifetime. You must understand that every disciplined act, no matter how small, is a seed planted in the soil of your future self. You may not see the tree today. You may not see it next month. But if you water the ground with your integrity, if you show up when no one is watching, if you keep your promises to yourself in the darkness, you are building a root system so deep that when the storms of life come, you will not be uprooted. You will stand firm. You will be the one person in a world of chaos who cannot be moved. And this brings us to the heart of the matter, the principle that changes everything, the understanding that reframes the entire struggle. We have spoken of the war within, the two cells that battle for control of your life. We have spoken of the trap the world has set, the endless distractions and immediate gratifications designed to keep you small and average. But now we must speak of the cure. And the cure is not what you think. The cure is not more willpower. It is not a stricter schedule. It is not a better system or a more detailed plan. Those are tools, and they have their place, but they are not the foundation. The foundation is something far more fundamental, far more personal. The foundation is love. We are taught from our very first memories that love is something we receive from others. As children, we look to our parents for it. As we grow, we seek it from friends, from teachers, from partners. We build our entire sense of worth on the shifting sands of external approval. We learn to perform, to please, to contort ourselves into shapes that others will find acceptable, even admirable. We chase validation in the form of likes, of promotions, of compliments, of invitations. And when that approval is not there, we feel empty, we feel unworthy, we feel lost. But there's a love that is deeper than all of this. A love that is not dependent on anyone else. A love that cannot be given or taken away by another human being. It is the love you have for yourself. And like any true love, it is not proven by words. It is not proven by what you say to yourself in the mirror. It is proven by actions. It is proven by how you treat yourself when no one else is watching. If you loved someone, truly loved them with your whole heart, how would you treat them? Pause for a moment and consider this question deeply. If you held someone dear, someone whose well-being mattered to you more than your own comfort, how would you behave toward them? Would you lie to them? Would you make promises to them and break them without a second thought? Without even a pang of guilt? Would you tell them you would be there and then simply not show up? Would you feed them things that made them sick? Would you fill their body with food that dulls their mind, slows their spirit, and steals their vitality? Would you keep them up late into the night when they desperately needed rest just for a few more minutes of empty entertainment? Would you fill their mind with noise and distraction when they needed clarity and focus? Would you surround them with images and messages designed to make them feel inadequate, to make them want more, to make them restless and dissatisfied with what they have? Of course not. If you loved someone, truly loved them, you would care for them. You would protect them. You would do the hard things for them, even when it was uncomfortable in the moment. You would tell them the truth, even when the truth was difficult to hear. You would guide them toward what is good for them, even when they resisted, because their long-term well-being would matter more to you than their short-term comfort. That is what love does. This is the lens through which we must begin to see self-discipline. When you choose to wake up early, not because you have to, not because you are forcing yourself with gritted teeth, but because you respect your own potential enough to give it the gift of a quiet morning, that is an act of self-respect. It is you, the wiser self, caring for the body and mind that carry you through this life. When you choose to work on your project instead of watching television, not out of self-punishment, but because you value your own creative expression, because you know that the work is the path to becoming who you are meant to be, that is an act of self-respect. It is you honoring the gift that was given to you. When you choose the healthy meal over the convenient one, not out of vanity or fear of judgment, but because you respect the temple that houses your soul, because you want to feel strong and clear and alive, that is an act of self-respect. When you choose to have the difficult conversation instead of letting resentment fester in the dark, because you respect your own peace of mind and the truth of your own heart, that is an act of self-respect. When you choose to walk away from a situation that diminishes you, even though it is familiar and comfortable because you respect yourself too much to stay small, that is an act of self-respect. Do you see the shift? It is subtle, but it is everything. It is the difference between a life of obligation and a life of integrity. It is the difference between being a slave to your impulses and being the loving master of your own ship. Napoleon Hill spoke of the concept of a mastermind. He defined it as the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people working in harmony toward a definite purpose. He believed that when minds come together in this way, a third invisible force is created, a kind of collective intelligence that exceeds the sum of its parts. But before you can align with others, you must first align with yourself. You must create a mastermind within your own being. The conscious mind, the one that sets the goals and sees the vision, must be in harmony with the subconscious mind, the one that holds the habits, the fears, the deep beliefs about who you are. And the bridge between them is disciplined action. It is the proof you give to your subconscious that you mean what you say. Every time you act with discipline, you are looking the scared, comfortable part of yourself in the eye and saying something profound. You are saying, I see you. I understand you are afraid. I understand you want to stay here, in the warm, familiar place. But I love you too much to let you stay. We are going to grow now. It might hurt a little. It might be uncomfortable, but I will be with you the whole way. I will not abandon you. I will not leave you behind. This is self-respect. It is not harsh. It is not brutal. It is not the voice of a drill sergeant screaming at a recruit. It is the voice of a loving parent, firm and kind, guiding a child through a difficult but necessary task. It is the voice of a devoted friend, telling you the truth when you need to hear it most. This is the understanding that the greatest gift you can give yourself is not comfort. It is not the absence of struggle. It is the gift of becoming who you are capable of being, and that gift can only be delivered through the small daily acts of keeping your word to yourself. So how does this principle manifest in the lives of those who achieve greatly? How do they think differently? What is the secret hidden in their daily existence that separates them from the millions who dream the same dreams but never wake to live them? It is not what you have been told. It is not that they have more hours in a day. Time is the great equalizer. Every human being on this earth receives the same 24 hours. It is not that they have superhuman strength or willpower. They tire, they doubt, they feel fear, just as you do. It is not that they are smarter or more talented. The world is filled with brilliant people who never accomplish anything of substance. The difference is simpler and more profound. They have learned to architect their lives in a way that makes disciplined action the natural path. They have stopped fighting the battle anew every single day and have instead built a structure that carries them forward, even when their motivation fails, even when their energy dips, even when the comfortable self rises up and demands to be heard. They understand something crucial, something that the average person never grasps. They understand that motivation is a lie. This is a hard truth, and it bears repeating. Motivation is a lie. Waiting to feel like doing the work is a trap that keeps people average for their entire lives. The average person sits and waits for the mood to strike them. They wait for inspiration to descend like a bolt of lightning. They wait until they feel ready, until they feel excited, until they feel motivated. And while they wait, the days pass, the weeks pass, the years pass, and the work remains undone. The great achiever does not wait for the feeling. They act, and the feeling follows. They understand that action is not the result of motivation. Action is the cause of it. This is one of the most important lessons you will ever hear, and it is worth sitting with for a moment. Action is not the result of motivation. Action is the cause of motivation. Think of a train. A train engine has immense power. It is capable of pulling hundreds of tons of cargo across entire continents. But when it is sitting at Han on the tracks, that power is potential, not actual. It cannot move forward until it overcomes the force of static friction. That first inch of movement requires the most energy. It requires the engine to push against the weight of its own inertia, against the resistance of steel on steel. That first inch is the hardest inch of the entire journey. But once that first inch is gained, once the wheels begin to turn, everything changes. The force of static friction gives way to kinetic friction, which is easier to overcome. The momentum begins to build. The next foot is easier than the first inch. The next mile is easier than the first foot. Soon, the train is moving at speed, and its own momentum carries it forward. It takes more energy to stop it now than to keep it going. This is the law of momentum, and it is the secret weapon of the disciplined person. They know that the hardest part of any task is the beginning, the first page of the book, the first step of the run, the first minute of the meditation, the first word of the difficult conversation. So they do not negotiate with themselves. They do not sit and think about how hard it will be. They do not wait to feel ready. They simply count to 3 and they move. They write one sentence. They make one phone call. They put on their running shoes. They take one step. And in that one step, the spell is broken. The resistance is overcome. The momentum begins to build. But it goes deeper than this. The great achiever does not rely on willpower alone. They understand that willpower is a finite resource, like a battery. Every time you use it to resist a temptation, you drain it a little more. Every time you use it to force yourself to do something you do not want to do, you deplete it. By the end of the day, the battery is low and the comfortable self takes over. So they do something clever. They build what we might call the quiet architecture of their lives. They design their environment to support their goals, so that they do not have to rely on willpower in the moment. They do not rely on willpower to resist the cookie. They simply do not keep cookies in the house. They do not rely on willpower to get off the phone. They put it in another room while they work. They do not rely on willpower to avoid distractions. They carve out blocks of time where distractions are physically impossible. They understand that the environment is more powerful than the will, so they shape the environment. This is the quiet architecture. It is invisible to the outside world, but it determines everything. But there is another layer, even deeper than this. The great achiever has built a mental architecture. They have a definiteness of purpose so clear, so compelling, so deeply felt that it acts as a compass in every moment of choice. When a distraction arises, a notification, an invitation, a temptation, they do not have to debate whether or not to engage with it. They do not have to summon willpower to resist it. They simply look at their compass. They ask themselves one question: does this lead me toward my purpose? And if the answer is no, the decision is already made. There is no negotiation. There is no internal debate. The time for deliberation is over. This is the freedom of discipline. It sounds like a paradox, But it is true. The undisciplined person lives in a state of constant deliberation. Should I eat this? Should I work or watch television? Should I go to the gym or stay in bed? Every moment is a negotiation, and they lose most of them because they are tired, because they are hungry, because they are weak. They are fighting the same battles over and over again, and they are losing. The disciplined person has already made the decision. They decided months ago that they would go to the gym on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m. When the alarm goes off, there is no debate. There is no question. There is only action. They have freed their mind from the endless tyranny of choice. They have conserved their willpower for the moments when it is truly needed. This is how great achievers think differently. They do not fight the battle anew every day. They fight the battle once. They make the decision, and then they build a system and architecture that allows them to simply follow the path they have already chosen. They treat their future self with respect. They do not leave difficult decisions for the tired, hungry, distracted person they will be at 8 p.m. They make those decisions in advance, when they are clear-headed and strong. They build the architecture in the light of day, so that they can walk through it in the darkness of doubt. And this is available to you. This is not a gift given only to a chosen few. It is a skill. It is a practice. It is a way of living that you can begin to build today in the smallest of ways. You can start with one small decision made in advance, one small piece of architecture, one small commitment to your future self, and then another and another, and another until the structure is built, until the momentum carries you, until the person you are becoming is the person you already are. And so, we arrive at the final point, the awakening. After all the words, after all the reflections on the war within, on the traps of the world, on the nature of self-respect, and the architecture of achievement, we come to the moment that changes everything. It is not a loud event. There are no fireworks. There is no dramatic music. It is a quiet shift in perception, a moment when you see yourself and your life and your struggles in a completely new light. The awakening is this. You realize that you have been looking for someone to save you for your entire life. Perhaps without knowing it, you have been waiting. You have been waiting for the right moment, the perfect set of circumstances that will finally allow you to begin. You have been waiting for the right opportunity to present itself, the lucky break that will open the door. You have been waiting for the right partner, the one who will believe in you, who will support you, who will push you forward. You've been waiting for the right book, the right video, the right teacher to give you the secret formula. You have been waiting for someone to come along and rescue you from the life you are living. And in the quiet of this moment, you understand the truth. It lands softly, but it lands with the weight of 1,000 mountains. No one is coming. There is no rescue ship on the horizon. There is no cavalry about to crest the hill. There is no wealthy relative about to die and leave you a fortune. There is no publisher about to discover your genius. There is no mentor about to descend from the clouds and take you under their wing. The world is not preparing to part like the Red Sea and make a path for you. It is not waiting for you to succeed. It is indifferent to your struggles and your dreams alike. This sounds at first like a terrible thing to hear. It sounds cold. It sounds cold. It sounds cruel. It sounds like the death of hope. And in a way, it is. It is the death of a certain kind of hope. The hope that depends on the world changing. The hope that depends on others showing up. The hope that keeps you passive, waiting, wishing. But listen carefully to this part. This is where everything shifts. When you truly accept that no one is coming, something remarkable happens. Something that feels at first like despair, but quickly transforms into something far more powerful. A profound sense of peace settles over you. A stillness enters your heart that you have never felt before, because you realize that you are not a victim anymore. If no one is coming, you are not waiting. You are not hoping. You are not dependent on the whims of fate or the kindness of strangers. The power was never out there. It was always in your hands. It was in the choice to get up when the alarm rang. It was in the choice to do the work when no one was watching. It was in the choice to keep the promise to yourself, even when it was hard, even when it was lonely, even when no one would ever know. The life you want will not be delivered to you. It will not arrive in the mail. It will not be handed to you by a smiling stranger. It will only be built by you, brick by brick, choice by choice, day by day. This is not a burden. This is the greatest freedom you will ever know. Think of a ship. A ship that sits in the harbor is safe. It is protected from the storms. It does not have to face the waves or the wind, but it is also going nowhere. It will never know the vastness of the ocean. It will never feel the spray of salt on its deck. It will never discover new lands. It will never return home with stories to tell. It will simply rust, slowly, in the place where it has always been. A ship that leaves the harbor is vulnerable. It will face storms. It will be tossed by waves. It will encounter dangers it cannot predict, but it is also alive. It is in motion. It is becoming what it was built to be. Your disciplined action is the anchor being lifted. It is the engine starting. It is the ship leaving the harbor. And here is the mystery that Napoleon Hill spent his life trying to articulate. Here is the secret that the great minds of every generation have whispered to those with ears to hear. Once you are in motion, once you have proven to yourself and to the universe that you are serious, you will find that you are not alone. Hill spoke of a concept he called the invisible guide. He believed that as you move toward your definite purpose, as you persist through failure and hardship, as you demonstrate your commitment through disciplined action, you begin to tap into a source of intelligence and power greater than your own. You begin to attract the people, the circumstances, and the opportunities you need. The world rearranges itself around your purpose. The wind will fill your sails. The current will push you forward. Doors will open that you did not know existed. People will appear, seemingly by chance, who have exactly the knowledge or connection you require. Coincidences will pile upon coincidences until you can no longer call them coincidences. The invisible guide that Hill spoke of, the collective intelligence of your purpose, your persistence, and your faith will begin to work on your behalf. But it only happens when you are in motion. It only happens when the ship has left the harbor. You cannot attract the wind while you are still tied to the dock, and it all begins with self-respect. It begins with looking in the mirror and making a promise, a small promise, one you know you can keep, and then keeping it, and then making another, and keeping that one too. This is how character is built. This is how a life is transformed, not in grand heroic gestures that make for good stories, but in the quiet, unseen moments of integrity, in the moments when no one is watching, in the moments when you choose the future over the present, in the moments when you treat yourself not as a slave to be driven, but as a beloved friend to be cared for. You are the sculptor, and you are the clay. The chisel in your hand is your will, guided by your purpose. Every disciplined act is a cut, removing everything that is not you, revealing the masterpiece hidden within. It may hurt at times. The clay may resist, but the sculptor persists, because they can see what the clay cannot yet see. They can see the form that is waiting to emerge. Do not wait for a better life. Build one. Respect yourself enough to endure the discomfort of growth. Trust yourself enough to keep your own promises. Love yourself enough to become who you are capable of being. And in the silence of your own being, you will find a strength you never knew you had. A quiet, unshakable power that cannot be taken from you. A peace that does not depend on the world. A freedom that no one can steal. The conversation is over now. The night is still. The dawn is coming. And you know what you must do.